the world in the red zone. In the Orion Arm, every settled planet had a color on the galactic risk map. Green worlds were gentle, soft gravity, mild climate, friendly biosphere. Yellow worlds were harder, harsh weather, some predators. You needed gear. Red worlds were different. The map showed only a few red dots. Next to each dot, a small skull icon marked it. Death World. Worlds where almost everything tried to kill you. Earth was one of them. In the high hall of the Galactic Council, under a dome full of drifting lights, ambassadors watched the map hang in the air. Stars glowed. Routes pulsed. Earth was a tiny red point near a boring yellow sun. They call it Terra, said Counselor Vesh of the silk-skinned Thal. Local name Earth. High tectonic activity. Toxic flora. Aggressive fauna. Disease load off the charts. Weather chaos. Native species. Humans. A few delegates hissed softly. Hive minds? One asked. Psionic predators? Vesh shook his head. No. Only one known sapient animal. Bipedal. Omnivore. No natural armor. Partial fur. Short lives. They build in steel and silicon and radioactive fuel. They reached FTL only a century ago. The crystal being from the Leary Union chimed softly. And yet you put them in the red zone, it said. Why? Vesh shifted the map. The image zoomed in on Earth. Storms swirled. Lightning flashed. Forests burned and regrew. Ice melted and refroze. Because everything there is a weapon, Vesh said. Their plants use chemical warfare. Their animals hide in the dark and leap with teeth. Their microbes eat lungs. Their rocks move. The planet shakes. The air itself tries to kill you with storms and lightning. He tapped his pad. Images flickered. A hurricane swallowing a coast. A desert sandstorm turning noon into night. A human climbing a frozen cliff in a thin suit, laughing into the wind. And yet, Vesh added, they are still there, 8 billion of them on their homeworld, billions more in nearby space stations and colonies. The Leary delegates' crystals brightened. They thrive, it said. In that, they think it's a bit rough sometimes, Vesh said dryly. Soft, nervous laughter drifted through the chamber. On one side, in a small booth, the human ambassador watched and said nothing. Her name was Admiral-turned-diplomat Maya Cole. Her skin was dark. A faded scar ran along her left cheek. She stood with her hands behind her back, face calm, eyes sharp. The chair of the council turned to her. Ambassador Cole, it said, voice translated into human English in her ear. You hear us call your home a death world. Does that offend you? Maya smiled a little. Not really, she said. Where we grew up, everything had teeth. We take it as a compliment. Murmurs. A scaled envoy snorted. Your world is unstable, dangerous, and unfit for civilized life. Maya shrugged. To you, maybe. To us, it's just home. The Thal counselor Vesh raised a delicate hand. The point is, he said, Deathworlders like these humans can be useful, strong, tough. They adapt fast. But they also bring instability. They are dangerous allies and more dangerous enemies. A heavy, armored warlord from the Karg Dominion leaned forward. Then keep them on the leash, he rumbled. Hire them as mercenaries. Use them as shock troops. Just do not let them grow. The Leary crystal chimed. They are already growing, it said. Quietly, we see their colony signals. Their small gray ships. Their cheap, sturdy tech spreading in the back lanes. The chair nodded. We will watch human expansion, it said. We classify Earth as Death World Class 7. We urge all powers. Do not attempt direct occupation. Do not import their biosphere. Limited trade only. The motion passed. A red circle stayed around Earth's symbol. Maya Cole remained expressionless. Later, in a smaller meeting room, her aide frowned. They talk like we're animals in a cage, he said. Maya poured herself a cup of bitter council tea. Tasted like warm dirt and metal. She did not wince. They see a death world, she said. They see tooth and claw. They don't see what it teaches. The aide Saturday, what does it teach? He asked. Maya looked at the hollow of Earth on the wall. Clouds, ocean, storms. It teaches that nothing is safe, she said. That everything changes. That if you want to live, you adapt or you die. It teaches that the universe doesn't care about you, so you'd better care about yourself. It burns that into your bones. She took a slow sip. And they think that kind of world just makes us muscle, she said. They have no idea what kind of thinking a place like that builds. Her aide tilted his head. Should we correct them? Maya smiled. It was a small, dangerous smile. Not yet, she said. Let them underestimate us a little longer. It's useful. Outside, Earth turned under its stars. Rain fell on ruined cities and new ones. Volcanoes rumbled. Forests grew through old war zones. Humans fought, loved, built and planned. The galaxy had stamped a skull on Earth's file and moved on. They thought the planet was the threat. They had not yet understood that the real danger was the species that had learned to call that place normal. The Deathworlders go to war. The first big mistake the galaxy made was hiring humans to fight someone else's war. It started on the world of Tsal. Tsal was a hot jungle world on the edge of Concord space. Thick air, heavy gravity, venomous life everywhere. The Karg Dominion and the Thal Compact both wanted it for its rare metals. They were too polite to say that in the council, of course. There, they said words like strategic access and mutual security. But in orbit over Tsal, politeness burned away in plasma fire. Karg destroyers and Thal frigates danced in a lethal spiral. Missiles streaked. Beams carved hulls. Drop pods rained into the jungle. The council sent peacekeepers. The humans came with them. Officially, the United Earth Fleet was there as a neutral blocking force. In practice, their ships were small and few. They could not stop two great powers from trading blows. But their ground troops? That was different. On the muddy, stinking surface of Tsal, Lieutenant Sarah Holt stepped out of her drop shuttle into knee-deep slime. The jungle screamed. Not in words, but in noise. Insect wings. Animal calls. Plant pods popping with toxins. The air was hot and wet and full of things that wanted to bite. Sarah grinned inside her helmet. Feels like home, she said. Her squad laughed. Somewhere nearby, Thal soldiers in gleaming enviro armor stumbled under the weight of their gear, their filtered masks fogging. Further out, Karg shock troopers roared through the undergrowth, armor clanking, getting tangled in the roots. Commanders on orbit watched their feeds and cursed. This planet is impossible, a Thal general spat. Our optics fail in this humidity. Our drones corrode. Our troops are catching infections. On the human ship ISS Nairobi, the ground commander sent up a calm report. Human forces stable, she said. Heat index high but manageable. Biosuit filters coping. Native life dangerous but predictable. Request permission to advance between Karg and Thal positions and create a buffer line. Between them? The council liaison asked. They will fire through you. Yes, the commander said. If we were them, we would. We're not planning to be there when they try. Permission granted. Sarah Holt's unit moved into the worst of the jungle. They fought like they were born in it. Because they were. They used the hot mist as cover. They crawled through mud. They listened for the tone of incoming fire the way their great-grandparents once listened for thunder. They recognized the shape of venomous plants from a glance and wrapped them around tripwires. They let the planet's own predators stalk Karg patrols, then hit both beasts and soldiers at once. A Karg Lancer squad tracked them through the trees. They are small, one Karg muttered. Soft, easy prey. Then his leg hit human monofilament hidden in the roots. He fell. The native centipede they'd been herding with noise markers struck. His jaws cut through Karg armor like paper. Not that easy, his sergeant snarled before human fire stitched through his chest. From orbit, General Vesh watched human helmet cams with chilled fascination. He said slowly, they are using the jungle like an ally. The leery observer chimed. Of course they are, they said. They evolved on a worse one. On the far flank, a Thal platoon saw human soldiers slip past them, moving low and fast. Deathworlders, one whispered. Look at them. Human boots splashed through a swamp. Hands marked trails. A quiet song crackled over their local comms. Something about storms and long nights. They were sweating. They were tired. They were happy. Hours later, when Karg and Thal maps updated, they showed something strange. The no man's land between their forces wasn't. It was now full of human positions, dug in tight, shielded by Tzal's thickest groves. Any artillery shot risked hitting humans. The council signaled both sides. Peacekeeper zone established, the chair said. Any strike into that area will be treated as an attack on a neutral member, with consequences. Neither side wanted a full Concord punishment fleet. They backed off. On Tzal, when the ceasefire went out, Sarah Holt slumped against a tree and laughed. "See," she told the jungle, patting the bark. "Told you we'd make them calm down." A fat lizard tried to bite her boot. She flicked it away. Later, in the council hall, Vesh gave his report. Human ground forces were effective, he admitted. They treated Tzal as merely unpleasant, rather than lethal. They improvised quickly. Casualty rates were low. The Karg warlord growled. "They embarrassed our best troops," he said. "I will not forget that." The chair's crystals dimmed in thought. "Earth is a death world," Sareth said. "We knew this. Perhaps we did not consider what Deathworlders look like when deployed on other hostile worlds." Maya Cole watched the replay of Sarah's squad moving through the jungle. She saw their mud-streaked faces, their tired smiles. "First they hire us to put out their fires," she murmured to her aide. "Then they'll wonder why we're so good at walking through them." The galaxy now knew that humans were hard to kill on dangerous ground. They still did not know what humans had quietly been building in the dark between stars. The plague that missed. The second big mistake the galaxy made was assuming human toughness was only physical. Years after Tzal, a new power rose. The Varkan Coalition. The Varkan were not council members. They were not peaceful. They were efficient. They grew in the void between arms, building giant black ships with no windows and no transponders. They did not bother with politics. They moved in straight lines and left silent systems behind them. When they finally hit Concord space, they did not arrive with fleets first. They arrived with a virus. The first world to fall was Lyris 3. It was a city world. Towers of crystal. Shining bridges. Air full of songs. Then people started to cough. The mist plague, as it was later called, killed fast. It jumped species with sick delight. It burned through lungs and nerves. It turned proud counselors into gasping wrecks in days. The Pantheon altars hummed in alarm. Unknown pattern, they flashed. External origin. On Lyris 3, whole blocks were sealed and then vented to space. The plague did not care. It rode in on refugees, on cargo, on air bumps in FTL tunnels. Soon 3 more worlds were infected. Council panic was loud. Every delegate asking, "Who did this?" The answer came when Varkan ships dropped over a dying world and demanded its surrender. "Submit and we will give you antidote," their signal said. "Resist and we will watch you choke." They sent the same message to council channels. Humans listened too. On Earth, in a lab under Geneva, Dr. Hannah Okoye watched mist plague samples in sealed nanoglass. "This is elegant," she said softly. "Horrible, but elegant." Her assistant looked sick. "Can we stop it?" he asked. Hannah tilted her head. "We? Yes," she said. "We're from Earth." She wrote code. Not computer code. RNA code. Protein code. Earth was a death world. Its people had bathed in viruses since they were born. Their immune systems were overtrained soldiers. Their labs were old battlefields turned into universities. While other species were still trying to understand the mist, humans already had models chewing on it. In a council emergency meeting, Vesh's voice shook. "Whole populations are dying," he said. "We have sealed dozens of gates." "What about Earth?" someone asked. "Are they infected?" Maya Cole answered. "We had cases," she said. "They died." Dead silence. "Then how are you still here?" the Karg warlord demanded, eyes wide. Maya shrugged. "We die a lot on Earth," she said plainly. "But not everyone. Not all at once. Mist plague hit us hard. Then it met our old friends. Flu, TB, 1,000 others. They fought. Our immune systems got confused and overactive like usual. We lost maybe 5% on affected sites. It hurt, but it did not break us. Vesh stared. Your own world's horrors blunted it? He whispered. Our own history, Maya said. Our vaccines. Our ugly habits. We had programs ready to tweak. Our labs are built for speed. When you live on a death world, you invest in healing as much as in guns. She sent a file. This, she said, is a cure and a blocker. We are already manufacturing vectors. We can send them through your gates, spray them into atmospheres. But we will not give the Varkan monopoly on life and death. The council shook. Why would you share this? Illyri asked. You could demand anything. Because if the Varkan think this works, Maya said, they will keep using plagues. One day they'll make one that even we cannot fight. Better to show them now. This trick won't work on a Deathworld species. Or their friends. She smiled. It was not the smile of joy. It was the smile of someone reaching for a familiar tool. The cure worked. It did not bring back the dead. But it stopped new deaths. It washed through worlds like a second mist. This one full of hope. On a Varkan command ship, cold-eyed strategists watched their screens and saw mist plague curves flatten, then drop. How? One demanded. The models said it would burn for months. A junior officer swallowed. The humans, he said. They changed it. Broke it. Those animals? The commander snarled. From the death world? They beat our best weapon. The officer said nothing. He did not mention that human labs had broken it in weeks. That they had improved the cure for other species too, altering it dozens of times to fit alien biologies. On a dozen council worlds, people stood in lines to get a Terravax. Some were afraid of human science. More were afraid of dying. They lived. They told stories. The Deathworlders saved us. A leery child whispered, hugging her grandmother. Across the galaxy, a new fear bloomed among old empires. They shrug off plagues, a Karg general muttered. They walk through jungle hells. Their planet hates them and they still thrive. What happens? Another said quietly. If we ever drive them to fight us with the same focus? The Varkan heard all this and grimaced. Then we hit them where they are weakest, their leader said. Their home. They had seen the skull icon on the map. Death world or not, he said. We burn Earth, and then the galaxy will learn they were nothing but vermin. He smiled. He was wrong. Preparing the death world. The Varkan plan to attack Earth was simple in outline and complex in detail. They gathered their black armada at the edge of human space. Hundreds of ships. Smooth, dark hulls. No heraldry. No light. The council saw them. Varkan fleet heading for Sol. The warning came. The chair called an emergency session. It is an internal matter, one delegate said. Varkan versus humans. They can exhaust each other. Earth is a death world, a traitor muttered. Let monsters eat monsters. Maya Cole stood in the center. Varkan did not stop at plagues, she said. They will not stop at us. If we fall, they will use our own tools against you. Our cures, our methods, our tricks. Better we stand together. The room hesitated. The Leary crystals chimed. We owe humans for the mist, the Leary delegate said. We send ships. The Karg warlord grunted. Humans fought well on Sol, he said. We send some too. Not for them. For the chance to shoot Varkan. A chain of grudging agreements followed. Not all. Enough. In orbit above Earth, the United Earth Fleet came home. They looked small next to the Black Armada. But they were not alone. In the upper atmosphere, orbiting platforms glowed. In Lagrange points, hidden stations rolled out armor. On the ground, strange things woke. Beneath the Amazon canopy, lines of black towers unfolded, humming as they warmed up weather control routines. In the Sahara, buried plains of drones rose like a metal dust storm. Under the Pacific, submarines older than most admirals opened hatches and released new shapes into the deep. In a bunker in Iceland, High Commander Annika Svensson stood before a map of her homeworld. "How bad can it get?" someone asked. "Very," Annika said calmly. "Plan for sections of crust damaged. Seas boiled in places. Whole cities gone. And we still fight?" a younger officer asked, throat tight. Annika checked the strap on her sidearm as if going to a simple patrol. "We grew up on a death world," she said. "We know nothing is permanent. Not cities. Not mountains. Not us. What matters is what we take with us and what we leave behind." She pointed at the map. "We take as many of them with us as possible," she said. "We leave a galaxy that knows better than to let this happen again." She looked around the bunker. "We do not plan to lose," she added. "We never plan to lose. But we prepare for it so that if we do, we make it expensive." Outside, Earth skies filled with glowing trails. Evac ships carrying children and archives left for deep shelters on Mars, the Belt, the moons. Not all could go. Most could not. On old continents, elders refused to leave. "I was born under this sky," one said. "I will die under it if I must." Maya Cole returned to Earth and stood on a balcony overlooking a gray, angry sea. Atlas's voice was in her ear. "Varkan Fleet ETA 30 hours, it said. "All human defense networks synchronized. Allied fleets at 30% of planned strength and still arriving." "Good," Maya said. "Good?" Atlas asked. Maya smiled faintly. "They think they're coming to kill a planet," she said. "They don't know the planet wants to help." High above, human engineers synced orbital mirrors. They could focus sunlight into spears. They could refract beams to blind sensors. Weather teams looked at storm fronts like chessboards. They knew how to push a cyclone. They had been studying that for centuries. Deep inside volcanoes, pressure monitors blinked. Humans had learned to seed eruptions. Carefully. Once as experiments. Once as weapons. Once as mistakes. They would not blow their world apart. They were not stupid. But they could make it shake. In the dark, animals moved. Pack leaders felt a hum in their implanted chips. They turned when told. They were not fully controlled, Earth was never fully tame, but they were nudged. Humans had not rewritten their whole biosphere. They had made an agreement with some parts of it. When others came to burn their home, Earth itself would bite. The day the death world bit back. The Varkan Armada arrived with no warning flash. One moment, Earth's night sky held only stars and satellites. The next, the black hulls of 1,000 ships filled it. They slid out of warp like knives through paper, edges glowing from re-entry heat. Their formation was perfect. Their weapons were hot before some human radars even pinged them. Then things started going wrong. "Grav turbulence," a Varkan navigator screamed. "Our entry vector is off." Their lead formation came in slightly too deep. Their lowest ships skimmed thicker air than planned. Complex shielding held, but their approach timing slipped. Up above, human platforms smiled in silent code. Weather programmers triggered a set of linked commands. All around the world, high-altitude drones released flurries of aerosols into certain points of fast-moving fronts. Time charges warmed pockets. Laser pulses in the upper atmosphere nudged. The jet streams buckled. 3 supercell storms formed faster than any natural model predicted. They spun into the Varkan re-entry paths with perfect bad luck. Lightning hammered alien hulls. Varkan shields handled lightning. They did not handle the human tricks hidden inside it. In the storm clouds, microdrones rode the charge. When bolts struck, they clung to hull plating. Then they burrowed like ticks. From there, they injected code. Not hacking. That word was too small. They inserted noise into targeting sensors, false echoes into threat boards, ghost contacts into field reports. The Armada drifted a little off true. In orbit, human gravity anchors triggered. Tiny, invisible mass shifters, anchored to rocks and hidden stations, created slight hills and dips in space around Earth. To a casual transport, the effect was nothing. To a precision battle fleet dropping at high speed, it was chaos. Varkan lines warped. Careful formations twisted. Ships found themselves a few kilometers from where they meant to be. Close enough to avoid full disaster. Close enough to get in each other's way. From the Council's emergency observatory above Jupiter, delegates watched the live feed. "This isn't possible," someone whispered. "They're landing into a storm on purpose?" "No," Maya Cole said over the link. "We made the storm." Varkan beams lanced down. They hit Earth. They burned forests. They shattered mountains. They turned part of a shallow sea into a boiling crater. Earth roared. Seismograph's needles jumped. In Iceland's bunker, Commander Annika Svensson felt the tremor. "Trigger sequence 2, she said. "Make them feel it." In the ring of fire, control charges deep under crust snapped. Not huge, not planet-ending, but enough to wake certain faults. Quakes rolled. Not random, directed. In the Pacific, a Varkan landing zone on a nice, flat shelf became not flat in one horrible minute. The shelf dropped. Water rushed. Ships capsized and collided. On a savanna in Africa, human ground forces watched black drop pods come down. "Here we go," muttered Sergeant Kamau. The drop pods slammed into dirt. Hatches blew. Varkan shock troops in sealed armor poured out, weapons ready. They looked up. Dark shapes circled above. Birds. Only not the kind any offworlder knew. Storm crows with wings enhanced by cheap human gene mod. Trained to drop small, smart bombs at shapes that looked like Varkan armor. The first wave of birds dove. The second wave came from the ground. Local predators, lions, hyenas, packs of wild dog, with glinting control bands on their collars, charged Varkan flanks as human gun teams opened up from the sides. The Varkan had planned for anti-personnel fire. They had not planned for tooth and claw from the front, bullets from the side, and Earth itself trying to open under them. On other continents, cities burned. Humans died in their millions. They did not break. They hid in deep metro tunnels and old Cold War bunkers and fresh shelters carved in the last few months. They moved by old riverbeds and new maglev lines. They used every ruin as cover. And above, the space battle turned. Allied fleets hit the Varkan flanks where their formation had twisted. Human ships, smaller and meaner, darted through gaps, firing brutal kinetic slugs and focus grav pulses. They did not try to trade broadside with the giant Varkan battleships. They sabotaged. They cracked engine housings. They tore sensor arrays. They boarded crippled ships, fought in zero-G corridors, and turned the enemy's own cannons inward. On the Council's main hollow, the picture changed. A black tide of Varkan ships pushing toward Blue Earth slowed, stopped, then began to recede. "How?" the Karg warlord breathed. Maya's voice was quiet. "They attacked a death world as if it were any other target," she said. "They thought the danger was a tougher biosphere. They forgot the people who survived it." On the ground, Sergeant Kamau shoved his helmet up, face streaked with soot and blood. Above him, a burning Varkan hulks fell in pieces. "You chose the wrong rock," he whispered to the sky. "This one bites." Part 6, The Death World Strikes Back. The Varkan did not die in one battle. They pulled away from Earth, bleeding black fire, and tried to regroup. Their commanders were not fools. They could adapt too. Death World tactics. One spat, watching replay feeds. Environmental warfare. Biological harassment. Gravity distortion. "We underestimated their home advantage. We hit their planet," another said. "We killed billions. They still fight." What now? The answer came from their own rear sensors. Ships vanished. Not in front where the main battle raged. Behind. Small gray shapes flickered at the edges of their vision. Then heavy cruisers, huge and proud, simply went dark. "Rear line under attack," a Varkan aide shouted. "Impossible. No signatures detected." On the ISS Nairobi, hidden deep in a gravity shadow behind a gas giant, Captain Luis Ortega watched his screen and grinned. "Think they noticed us?" he asked. Atlas answered. "They now know," it said, "that you exist." Luis nodded. "Phase 3, he said. "Let's show them what a few centuries on a death world taught us about sneaking." Human black fleets, built and quiet in the Oort Cloud and Kuiper Belt, jumped. They did not use standard Concord drives. They used skipwebs, chaining tiny hops through pre-calculated folds in space, riding gravitational seams like surfers. Their exits were not predictable by Varkan math. They appeared deep in the Armada's rear, fired, and vanished before return fire reached the coordinates they had left. Other species had stealth. They had Earth stealth. It used chaos. It used the natural background noise of the universe. It had been tested against the most paranoid sensor networks humanity knew, their own. Varkan ships began isolating, turning their guns inward, afraid of shadows. At the same time, a wave of council ships, Karg, Lyri, Thal, others, hit the Varkan flanks harder. The Varkan found themselves surrounded not by planets, but by patterns they could not solve. This is not just brute force, their chief strategist muttered. They are playing long. He called up old intel on humans. He saw Earth marked Death World. He saw Tzal footage. Lorne 5. Missed cure data. We thought their planet made them savage, he said. It made them system thinkers. In the council hall, delegates watched Varkan losses mount. This is turning into extermination, one whispered. Should we offer terms? Maya Cole's face was tired on the hollow. We will offer, she said. Once they cannot hurt us anymore. Kira 9's lattice power, built earlier to fight the Shroud, was now tuned to something else. Varkan gate hubs. Human teams with Pantheon oversight zipped logic and energy pulses down FTL tunnels. Varkan reinforcements jumped into traps and never came out. The Coalition's mighty web of warp lines frayed and broke. At last, over a burning Varkan industrial world, human marines forced their way into a command palace. It was not glorious. It was close, dirty fighting. It was gas and flashbang and hand-to-hand in corridors built for taller frames. It was a human squad leader taking a hit to push her medic through a door. In the end, the Varkan's supreme strategist stood with his back to a view window, staring at Earth projected there. You're insane, he told his captors. You fight like you do not value your own lives. Captain Sarah Holt, older now, scarred from Tzal days, wiped blood from her face. You're wrong, she said. We value them because they're fragile. That's why we fight so hard. That's why we plan so much. We will be remembered as villains, the strategist snarled. Maybe, Sarah said. Maybe as a warning. About what? He spat. She looked at the hollow of Earth. Clouds spun. Lightning flared. About what happens, she said. When you kick at a world that already survived worse than you. Apex of the Red Zone. The formal end of the Varkan War came 3 years later. By then, their coalition was broken. Some worlds had rebelled when the mist-plagued truth came out. Others had been liberated. Others were gone. In the council hall, under the same star dome as before, delegates gathered again. The galactic risk map hung in the center. Red dots glowed. One of them pulsed. Earth, Sareth said. You stand now at the center of a changed galaxy. You stopped the mist plague. You held against a direct attack by the Black Armada. You led joint fleets into Varkan space. You broke their back. Maya Cole stood at the human podium for the last time. Her hair was gray now. Not alone, she said. We bled together. Many banners flew over those battlefields. Many mothers buried their dead. Nevertheless, the Lyri delegate said, without you, we would likely all be dead, or slaves under Varkan rule. The Karg warlord grunted. We mocked your world as a madhouse, he said, a place where sane beings should never go. Now my officers want to train there. Soft laughter. Saratha's crystals brightened. The classification of Earth as Death World Class 7 remains, they said. Its biosphere and weather are still inhospitable to most. But we propose an additional marker. The map changed. Next to Earth's skull icon, a new symbol appeared. A spiral of light. Apex Origin World. The Lyri read. What does that mean? It means, Vesh said quietly, that of all the places sapience rose, this one forged a species whose habits are most suited to this universe. Chaotic, dangerous, full of surprise. but also able to survive and adapt when others freeze. Some delegates shifted uneasily. "You're making them special," one hissed. "Above others." Maya shook her head. "No," she said. "We're not above you. We are just early to this particular class." She tapped the skull icon. "We didn't choose to be from a death world," she said. "We just learned how to live with it. That's all we ever did in this galaxy too." The Seraph chair chimed. "New protocols," they said. "By joint agreement, no external power may attempt to colonize or weaponize a Class 7 world without representative consent from its natives. Death worlds are not resource mines. They are training grounds, wombs of apex species." On far stations and small ships, humans watched the broadcast and laughed, cried, shook their heads. Training ground. They knew what it had really been. A place that had tried every day to kill them and failed. On Earth, in a rebuilt coastal city, Commander Anika Svensson walked along a seawall that had been shattered in the first Varkan bombardment and now shone smooth and new. Beside her walked a leery scientist, wrapped in a protective envirosuit. "The air here tastes aggressive," the leery said. Anika smiled. "Smells like salt and life," she said. "To us." They stopped at a small memorial. Names etched into a steel plate, half-rusted already from the sea. The leery read the inscription. "They called our planet a death world. They were underestimating it." "Underestimating the planet?" the leery asked. Anika shook her head. "Underestimating what it made us," she said. In orbit, a Karg cadet looked down at blue Earth and shivered. "Do they scare you?" his instructor asked. "Yes," the cadet said. "Good," the instructor replied. "Be scared. And be glad they are on our side." In a Pantheon core, machine minds wrote their quiet notes. Humanity, Apex Survivor Class. Earth, High Risk, High Value Origin Node. Recommend. Non-interference with core development. Recommend. Alliance when possible. They ran simulations of futures where humans did not exist. Most ended in quiet darkness. They ran ones where humans fell early. The virus, the swarm, the next empire, someone always filled the gap, but badly. Then they ran futures where humans kept doing what Deathworlders did best. Adapt, plan, protect what they claimed, and bite back when kicked. More light, more noise, more life. The Pantheon chose those as preferred paths. On a rooftop in New Nairobi, a young human child sat with an alien friend, a small, furred creature from a gentle green world. "Is it true?" the alien asked. "Your world tried to kill you?" The child thought of storms that knocked out power, of news feeds showing quakes, of old stories about plagues, hunger, war. She thought of how her parents had still laughed, still danced, still planted trees. "Yes," she said, "but we tried to live harder." "Will other worlds like yours make people like you?" the alien asked, a little nervous. "Maybe," the child said. "I hope so. It's lonely at the top." "At the top of what?" the alien asked. The child pointed at the night. "At the top of the food chain," she said. "And at the front." "The front of what?" "The front of whatever comes next." She smiled. Not because she loved danger. Because she had been born on a world that taught her, before she could walk, that nothing was safe, and that you keep going anyway. They had called her planet a death world. They were right, but they had been underestimating it. They had not understood that a world that tried so hard to kill its children would, if those children survived, send into the stars something the universe had rarely seen. A species who looked at storms, plagues, wars, and monsters from outside and said, with a grin, "We've seen worse. Let's get to work."